karma is hitting my sister's life hard, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Oh boy, this story is a long one, so grab your popcorn and let's go. I'm the youngest out of 3 girls. I have one older sister, Willa, and one stepsister, Farrah, who are the same age. I'm 2 years younger than both of them. To put it in simpler terms, Willa is an insecure pick-me-bee. The woman can't hold a simple conversation without bringing up a man or insulting a woman. That's basically her entire personality. To be a bit more fair, she gets it from our mother. Growing up, everything was a competition even if I didn't want it to be. And it was always centered around boys. If I wanted to play soccer and there was a guy on my team that I liked, Willa would suddenly be interested in soccer. If I baked cookies for a bake sale, Willa would have to bake something too because she wanted to be the more domestic one of the family. She even had this little box of her secret recipes and protected it with her life, even though no one wanted to touch that thing because her food tasted like dog doo-doo. It's also worth mentioning that Willa cannot be single for more than a couple of weeks. Her entire life, she's been in and out of relationships. She likes to brag that she's the one who eventually lets them go, and that none of them have ever cheated on her. But I'll tell you right now, that's not true at all. When I got older, Willa would always flirt with my boyfriends and had even gone as far as to sleep with one of them. Of course, my mother defended her like crazy, saying that if I had been more ladylike, they wouldn't have cheated on me with Willa, who is a prime example of what a woman should be. My dad yelled at her and told her that she was way out of line, but my mom said that Willa did nothing wrong and admitted to cheating on my dad a few times. Of course, this whole situation ends up leading to their divorce. I'm in high school when my dad marries my stepmom, and Farrah comes into the picture. Farrah is Willa's exact opposite. She's nice, she can actually hold an interesting conversation, and she's funny too. But Willa would start to make these really weird comments about Farrah, since they're the same age. I guess Willa saw her as more competition and started to leave me alone. They both attended the same university, and Willa would constantly make fun of Farrah for actually wanting to pursue a career, when she was just there to find a rich husband. Farrah would tell her that she doesn't care to find a rich man, but Willa would laugh and say that's because she'll never be able to get one or even get married. One time she said that she deserves to have Farrah's skin tone because men like tanned women with curly hair. Farrah is East African. She'd also project her insecurities and would say things to Farrah like how she'd make a terrible mom, and she's so worried for her future kids, even though every child I've ever met loves her and hates Willa. Farrah is a pretty patient person, but even she's blown up at Willa a few times for her actions, but Willa just starts playing victim and starts crying. When Farrah started dating this football player, Willa screamed at her and made her life a living hell, and spread a rumor saying that they weren't actually together and Farrah was just stalking him. This was her first boyfriend ever, but the idiot ended up cheating on her with Willa, and she later drops out of college to say that they're getting married. This causes a huge issue in our family, and our parents are yelling at her to break up with him immediately, but Willa refuses. Some of our aunts and uncles with the same mentality agree with her, while others take Farrah's side. I told Willa that if she goes through with this wedding, that I won't be attending and will cut off all contact with her. She just laughs and says that she doesn't want a loser with no man to be there on her special day anyways. The wedding happens and my dad goes, but me, my stepmom, and Farrah stay behind. That's when I get bombarded with texts from my mother saying that I'm a terrible sister and I can't even be there for Willa's special day. That I shouldn't be taking sides with that W and support my real sister. I tell her that Farrah's more of a sister to me than Willa ever was, and that I'm not sorry one bit, and block her. Well, a few weeks after their wedding, Willa announces that she's pregnant. Surprise, surprise. At this point, our family has given her a little bit of sympathy and we decide to be at least cordial with her. Except her entire pregnancy consists of her saying things like, "It better be a boy," and "This baby is so lucky to have me as his mom." During her baby shower, she stands up to make a toast about how she's so thankful that she doesn't have to work unlike some people, because she has a rich football player husband, and turns to Farrah and says, "Good thing I have my husband, right sis?" with a huge smirk on her face. Well, shit hits the fan the day she goes into labor, and the doctor tells her that she has this hormonal imbalance that's going to make it near impossible for her to have any more kids. When my dad and I go over to help with household chores or to drop off food, she'll yell at us about how her husband is always comparing her meals to Farrah's and that hers tasted better. I actually laughed at this and she blew up in my face for being insensitive, but I told her that wasn't very ladylike of her. She also complains about how her husband never helps out with household chores, even though she's the one who would always say that it's a woman's job to do those things. Things get worse when her husband is injured during a game and is forced to retire early. Willa is practically begging us for money because her husband has spent the majority of their savings on strip clubs and drinking, and now they've had to move into a smaller apartment and can barely afford Wi-Fi. At this point, Farrah feels bad because there's a baby in the picture and she decides to financially support them, but only for things that are necessities or related to my nephew. Eventually I start seeing this amazing guy and we get married. He's so sweet and the best thing that's ever happened to me. He even got me my current job. The day of our wedding, I invited Willa, for the sake of letting bygones be bygones. You'd think that she'd learn from this and stop her shenanigans, right? Wrong. She's still running her mouth about our family and saying that we abandoned her. Anyways, fast forward a few years and I'm at work, when our CEO comes in one day and starts mentioning how we're going to start doing team building activities to build a more friendly work environment. Farrah runs a pretty successful art business, so I suggest that we do a pottery class day and she can lead. He thinks it's a great idea and it's set. Except on the day of the event, I notice that Iron, that's our CEO, is acting a little funny. He's constantly dropping his clay, asking questions that have very obvious answers, when this man is one of the smartest guys I know, and is constantly blushing anytime Farrah even looks in his direction. After the workshop was over, he pulls me aside and asks me if Farrah is single. He might as well have told me that he was doubling my pay, because I screamed yes at him and set the two of them up. I might have done this mainly because I wanted to rub it in Willa's face that Farrah is dating a millionaire. But a good deed is a good deed. They date for about 5 months before he proposes, and when I tell you Willa went berserk, she went berserk. I kid you not, the day of Farrah's wedding, she showed up in a white dress to upstage her. But Farrah is East African, and in her home country the bridal wears a red and gold dress. Willa completely lost it that she wasn't the center of attention, and started accidentally knocking food over and trays, and had to be escorted out. When I stepped outside the venue to check on her, she was screaming and crying, saying that she deserved to be married to a rich man and she's going to steal him away from her. But I told her to keep dreaming because Iron is head over heels obsessed with my sister. That if she wasn't such a terrible human being, maybe then she could have a happy marriage and life as well. She yells at me that I have no idea what it's like to be in her shoes and I have no idea what it's like to be a mother. I'm 3 months pregnant at this point, but didn't want to announce it just yet, because I wanted Farrah to have her special day. Anyways, I tell Willa she's right, being a wife and mother is really hard. That's when I give it to her and say, "Good thing we have our husbands, right sis?" Let's listen to some comments from the community and answers from the author before the end of the video.
I think it was a decent story. It kept me entertained. That is what we are here for, right?
What's so outlandish about this? You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. Also, I'm not giving specifics for obvious privacy reasons.
Gotta love karma. Farrah sounds like the nicest person I've ever heard of.
She's sassy as hell, but a good person.
Wow, your sister's life really met truck and hard. By the way, why haven't you cut that crazy bee out of your life by now?
For the sake of my nephew. It's the only reason any of us are somewhat friendly to her. To be honest, if he wasn't in the picture, I'd never speak a word to her again. Thank you for listening to this story. Let me know in the comments if you agree with the community. What would you have done in that situation? And for those who stayed to the end, thank you. If you like this type of content, feel free to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. See you soon.